สำหรับรายการสุดท้ายของวันนี้นะคะเป็นการเสวนากลุ่มในหัวข้อ Digital Curation and Researcher New Roles for New Times โดยวิทยากรศาสตราจารย์เกียรติคุณมัสซาโตชิ คุโบะและรองศาสตราจารย์ดร.น้ำทิพย์ วิภาวินดำเนินรายการโดยอาจารย์ดร.ทรงพันธ์เจิมประยงค่ะขออนุญาตแนะนำประวัติของอาจารย์ดร.ทรงพันธ์สักนิดนะคะอาจารย์ทรงพันธ์จบการศึกษาในระดับปริญญาเอกทางด้าน Information and Library Science มหาวิทยาลัย North Carolina at Chapel Hill สหรัฐอเมริกาปัจจุบันเป็นอาจารย์ประจำภาควิชาบรรณารักษศาสตร์คณะอักษรศาสตร์จุฬาลงกรณ์มหาวิทยาลัยอาจารย์มีความสนใจด้านปฏิสัมพันธ์ระหว่างมนุษย์กับสารสนเทศการสื่อสารทางวิชาการสนเทศศาสตร์สุขภาพและการสงวนรักษาดิจิทัลขอเชิญอาจารย์ทรงพันธ์และวิทยากรทุกท่านค่ะ
Okay, thank you and welcome back. And we are going to, this session is going to be in English, so we could accommodate Professor Kubo. And I hope, so if you have any question during the discussion, please feel free to send to the stage. First of all, I would like to, in representing the organizer, to thank both speakers to give us a great insight on digital curations and experience in terms of managing cultural resources. Especially during the Dr. Namtip session, she already kind of gave us some introductions in terms of what is the digital curation and the process, as well as the skill set that someone would be called digital curator or digital science librarian would be, especially the highlights in terms of you don't need only technical skill, but you do need some human skill as well. That is very interesting notion, and we will discuss a little bit because I do have some questions regarding on that as well. And for Professor Kubo, he's kind of give us a new idea, and for me, it's kind of new in terms of discuss on the forum type collaborations, which kind of new to me as well, and also the idea of time space in the what you call the synchronical. Yeah, the idea of synchronical is very interesting, especially for those who are interested in research data. I think there would be some kind of thinking afterward in terms of how would you prepare your data to get into that level of presentation or visualization. But before all that, I would like to ask Ajahn Namtip a little bit in terms of, since you have quite some experience in terms of, or the idea for research in terms of the digital curation. What do you think that would be the first thing or would be the top priority for Thailand to go to achieve what we want to be somewhat digital curation society, or in a way like, you know, how would we prepare? Should we focus on just personal level or should we focus right away with the national level? So what do you think?
Yes, thank you very much, Jan. It's quite very difficult question for me. Anyway, I think it's very important for everyone to be aware of the importance of data, that what is the important data that we should keep in our institution, because it would be useful not just for other people but also for us who are working in the area, you know. So I think awareness is very important. And after that, if everyone aware of the importance of data, then it's very important to work, to set up the policy to work well, from states of in our organization and also in the university level, if possible it should be possible to coordinate with other department and other faculty to collect data and then to work together, because in the university, talking about university and also in other organizations, every department have data, important data that they can keep in their database in order to reuse. So I think awareness is important, and policy, and make it as the project, in order to ask the administrator level to support us, because working with data, we need a lot of support in the administrative level.
All right, thank you. But I would like to turn to Professor Kubo in terms of in the same regard, especially from your experience. You work with the National Museum of Ethnology, but it seems to me that your idea is kind of universal. You kind of want to be more like not just for the museum, but for overall. So does mean you have some idea or experience in terms of the plan of planning, managing cultural resources or digital object or data, research data. What do you think would be the best strategy in terms of going, starting with the institutional level, or go right away with the national level, in terms of your opinion? Or we just go with the individual person, like who go work on any research projects and then focus on that person first, or what would be the best strategy in your opinion?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, based on my experience, every data has many facets, I mean, many meanings. For example, one picture has several meanings, all right? One photo. And one can find some annotations, but another people may make another annotations. So this is the merit of the data sharing. And also, for digital curation, the curator has the wide range of the sense of the knowledge, including humanities sciences or natural sciences. So in the institution or university level, the basic education is very important, I think, to make their mind much wider, to open to any kinds of subjects. And it's not necessary to have the deep knowledge in each field, but the sense of the fields knowledge, and if he has some hint about the fields or the knowledge bases, then he can ask some other specialists to get much more information. So just the sense, or to find out the tendency or attitude to look around many areas. So I think such kind of attitude or tendency must be given in the universities. That's a basic, very important stage for digital curations.
Thank you. So in response to that kind of answer, that's you pinpoint to somewhat certain role, and one of the role that I think would be interesting to most people in the audience today, because I think I understand majority of us are librarian. So what are the roles of the librarian would be in this equation, and or if there would be a new role, for example, what we would probably call digital curator, or what their role would be. So because someone might consider themselves, okay, I want to make a change in their organization, but what should they start, or what should they do?
Okay. Yeah. Compared to the special fields researcher, librarians has a much more wider knowledge, or because librarian has to manage any kinds of books or journals, so they have the access power or access tools to any kinds of books or documents. So librarian must have the most wider sense of the wider areas. So I think the librarian has the most big possibility.
So in general, you think that library would be the place to do this kind of job
I
as
think
well?
so.
Okay, right. What about you, Dr. Namtip?
Yes, the library is the container of knowledge in the institution. That's why the librarian got to do the job. But what they need to do is to work more with researchers, to cooperate in terms of, in order to get the data from the researcher in different faculties. And because the library have the database that they create the database, and also they buy some data from electronic database also. But the important thing is about data in the university is the knowledge that within the university that is come from researchers, students, graduate students who are the producer of knowledge. How can the library can keep that knowledge within their organization? It's kind of a knowledge management process, but but it's more than that, because you want to keep it as a long term. There must be person have to kind of project that have the people who work on it. It's not the job that put in different department without anyone to take care of it. It must be someone who get the responsibility to work on this.
That's excellent question. That's an excellent answer, because that's leading to my the next question. Seems to both of you kind of give an importance to the awareness of this idea. As someone who would help people to raise, especially for researcher, to understand or aware of this, do you have any suggestions in terms of how to raise the awareness for researcher to understand this? Because I mean, the majority, I'm not quite sure, but I would say that there are many researchers in Thailand probably doesn't know that we have this thing called digital curation, and what is important to their research workflow, and what would be your opinion in terms of how should we raise awareness in this topic?
Yeah, I have a question. What's the status of the librarian in Thailand compared to the researchers?
The status?
Yes.
It depends on the libraries, but there are a range from working closely to researcher with researcher, like becoming a subject librarian, or there are some in some libraries it's quite separate out, like the relationship are quite different, because librarian just working in the library, researcher working the set in the field. So it's I think there are varieties in terms of the relationship between librarians and researchers.
In Japan, compared to the researcher, the status of the librarians are very low. So it's I think hinders the joint cooperation with the researcher and the librarian. So I by myself think the status of the librarian must be raised to the even level with the researcher, because the role is different. So the cooperation or collaboration is most important to make digital curation on digital database. So it's a key point in Japan.
Yep.
But I think in Thailand, the situation is a little bit different. So you can the chance to collaborate with a researcher with an even level.
Thank you. What are you? Do you have any suggestion?
Yes, I think in Thailand, the status of librarian and researchers are not really different, but it depends on the university to university. But the work still very important. I think how to raise awareness is there's so many activities that we can do, such as training. Provide training. The librarian themselves can organize the training and then invite speaker to talk about how important of data that we need for our university or for our institution. And besides training can be a workshop, just like what you do here in this center. That's how we can work with them, and also to have the meeting for kind of collaboration. I think it's very important to talk together. That's the important part of doing digital curation. That we need human skill. We need people to come together, sit down and talk. What shall we do with this? The technologies come later, after we agree with what the aim that we are going, for that.
Thank you. Now I have one specific question for each of you. I would like to start with Professor Kubo first. Particularly regarding to your project, I think one of the things that people might not realize, or you probably have said something or show us some example, but I would like you to kind of explain a little bit about the unique characteristic of the cultural resources that you have in Japan that is quite unique. Because if some of us would like to kind of implement or adopt your model, we will know, okay, this is something quite different than Japanese context, rather than if we want to, what should we do, or things like that.
Special characteristics in Japan, our Minpaku's cultural resource data. Depending on the fields or subjects, the data sets or index sets are changing, but the most basic is that, as I said, time and space. And other indexes, some people try to make the indexes much more detailed classifications. But it's not good, based on my experience. Because once something is assigned to one classification, we cannot find out another possibility. So I think the classification categories must be smaller, the better. And the thanks to the text search mechanism, any kind of text could be stored into the databases. So many things could be stored into the database as a plain text. And the database could search by words or terms. So it's much more usable or convenient to find out the new findings from the databases. So the one key is to restrict the category number of the categories.
Okay, that's a very interesting point, because I mean it's still a debate in Thailand in terms of kind of thinking about what classification we would use. Whether or not we have a very comprehensive classification system, but whether or not it's useful to the user or not, it's still a question. Thank you very much. I'll turn back to Dr. Namtip and with the last question, and I will turn back to you, the audience. Since I think one of the challenge that we do have here is the data set. I think I'm not quite sure it's going to be too hard, but I'm trying to kind of project the question. The idea of this question is, I think we are now living with social media. Especially with ethnography documentation documents. We used to don't have any documents except diaries, but now every step of us using mobile phone, using Facebook, using Line, using Messenger, any kind of that, some sort of kind of documentations of our life. It's kind of self-diary. Do you think that would have an effect in terms of the study of digital curation, or how we practice, how we do digital curations now, in the future, or in a near future?
Yes, there are so many kind of data. The scientific data, humanity data, and data in our daily life, which we also need to curate that kind of data from the social media. But they got to have someone who classify data, what type of data in our daily life that we want to keep. Just like you talk about information from Facebook, from web blog, from any type of social media, which is may come from the news or some other type of website. And that also can do data curation, digital curation, not just only the research paper or research report. Because that also, if it impact our life, in the future, if you think that information in the that from the social media will need to keep in order to let our young generation can use this kind of data. That is very interesting, not to work on data from social media.
All right. Thank you very much. Now I would like to get back to you, the audience. If you have any questions, any idea or any comments, and with any other speaker as well, I think the organizer would like to hear if you have any comments. Please. ถามเป็นภาษาไทยก็ได้ครับ เดี๋ยวผมถามเป็นภาษาอังกฤษให้ก็ได้ครับ Yes, no? Yes. เชิญครับ
ค่ะขอถามอาจารย์คุโบะนะคะว่าที่อาจารย์ได้อธิบายไว้ว่าที่ห้องสมุดมินปากุเนี่ยใช้ HRF system ในการจัดเชลฟ์หนังสือทีนี้ระบบเนี้ยมันค่อนข้างจะแตกต่างจากระบบมาตรฐานของ การจัดระบบห้องสมุดทั่วไปเวลาใช้เนี่ยมันจะมีปัญหาหรือข้อน่าสนใจอะไรที่เกิดจากการใช้ระบบนี้บ้างค่ะ
ครับ so the question is right just directly to you about the HRF this classification system the question is what's your experience ถ้าเกิดผมแปลผิดบอกนะครับ so what's your kind of experience in terms of what your opinion in terms of implementing the SRAF in using what's the good or what's the bad side of implementing the classification system.
What's the criteria of the good and bad? No.
Anything. Do you it's a success story or a fail story or?
Yes. Yeah. One fail story is that we make too many index sets for the academic informations for artifacts. There are so many columns, items. So the researcher became boring to fill each field, and they skip many fields, many important fields. So consequently, the data quality becomes low.
Yeah. So basically, no one want to feel anything or.
Yeah, so we should have made index sets smaller, and researcher can just describe in plain Japanese text to explain the phenomena or the events.
But in that sense, do you still think that SRAF is still useful even with the top hierarchy level? Or we don't need the SRAF anymore? We can just start with our own classification system or use other system?
Yeah, of course, the basic classification is of course
It's
necessary.
still good. Okay. Yeah.
But other, for example, the academic fields,
Very
for example,
specific.
the use of the objects or the making or producing of the objects. Yeah, we made very detailed fields, like where it was made, how it was made, what's the resources of the
That's
so
still a lot.
many fields.
Yeah.
So researchers are always skipping these fields. So just about the production and about the use, then they will feel any information he knows. So I think such kind of fields must be very
short.
loose ones.
Alright. Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ มีคำถามอื่นไหมครับ Any questions? Any other question? Right. I think that's all. Then, all right. If there's no questions, so thank you both of you very much. Thank you, and thank you the audience. Thank you very much. ครับ ขอบคุณครับ